Tori Johnson, and this is At Work. Happiness is something that everyone wants, and according to best-selling author Gretchen Rubin, it's something that everyone can have. She started the Happiness Project as a personal quest for happiness, and it's turned into a movement reaching people all across the globe. Hey, Gretchen, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, I'm very happy to be talking to you.
Oh, good. So speaking of that, now that you have years of studying happiness to your credit, how do you define it? What is happiness?
Well, I have to say that I really don't worry too much about the definition of happiness. There's something like 15 academic definitions of happiness, but I really take advantage of the looseness and the broadness of the term happiness. And if for some people it's more about satisfaction, and for others about peace or joy or contentment, it's a term that's broad enough to encompass all those. So I know what it is when I'm happier, and that's what I focus on instead of really trying to define what that ultimate definition might be.
You sort of know it when you feel it, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
So for a lot of people, they are convinced that they're just one step away from happiness. Like, oh, if I just find that boyfriend, I'll be happy. If I could only get that job or that promotion, I'd be happy. And the problem is, even when those things happen to us, happiness is definitely not a given. So why are we so stuck in that pattern of thinking, and how do we escape that trap?
Well, you're exactly right. That's a very widespread phenomenon called the arrival fallacy, where you think if only I could arrive at that goal, then I would be happy. But in fact, when you get there, you're not as happy as you expect to be. And so one of the things to do to offset that is to really focus on the process, on the happiness that you get on what's called pre-goal attainment, when you're working toward your goal, and the satisfaction that you get by seeing yourself move step by step. Because it is true that there's great satisfaction in reaching a goal, but if you put all your eggs in that basket and think that all the happiness is going to be when you actually cross that finish line, you're going to feel deflated when it actually happens.
Yeah, and I think that's what so many, I mean, everybody experiences that.
Yes.
So when researching your book, which long ago became that #1 New York Times bestseller, you tried a whole lot of things. What were the biggest surprises on your quest for understanding happiness, and perhaps even some of the surprises from all of the people that you've connected with along this happiness movement?
Well, the thing that surprised me personally the most was the idea that novelty and challenge bring happiness. Because I kept reading that that's what the scientists and the philosophers said, but I thought that for me, mastery and familiarity brought happiness. So I thought, well, that's just not going to be true for me. But I decided to test it for myself by starting a blog, because that felt very new and very challenging. And I found that indeed, novelty and challenge are huge engines of happiness. And that idea of learning something and expanding yourself and figuring out how to do something new, a lot of times it doesn't make you happy along the way, because there's a lot of moments of resentment or insecurity, feeling frustrated or stupid. But then that feeling of learning how to do something new, whether it's speaking French or training your dog or planting a garden or learning a new software, it really does add a lot to happiness. And I was very surprised, because I thought I knew myself well, and I thought that just was not going to be true for me. But now I completely reversed what I had thought, and I do believe that novelty and challenge are important to happiness.
So for people then who are ready to commit to the challenge, commit to creating their own form of a happiness project, what's your advice? Where can they begin right now?
Well, one thing I would say is get enough sleep. Most Americans don't get enough sleep. And if you don't get enough sleep, you don't have that energy, you don't have the self-control, you're more likely to get sick. And so just getting enough sleep and getting a little bit of exercise is really important. And then I think about what's something bad in your life that you want to see less of, or something good in your life that you want to see more of. And think about some very practical, manageable steps that you could take to work on that. Keep the bar low. Figure out something that's very practical. One thing that over and over, to my surprise, people mention is something that adds to their happiness, is the resolution to make your bed. As small as that is, it's manageable, it's first thing in the morning, it's something people can actually do, and it helps get them in the mode of making small changes that are going to increase their happiness.
Which I think is so fascinating, because so often, people say, focus on something big. What's something big you really want? And you're saying quite the opposite.
Well, sometimes when you think about something big, it can seem so abstract and so intimidating that you don't know where to start. So I think whether you're thinking big or thinking small, really break it into those small, manageable steps. And think about, well, what could I do tomorrow? What's something that I could really stick to? What's something that I could do every day to work towards that goal? And by making it very concrete and very manageable, you really put yourself on a path towards really being able to accomplish something, not being so intimidated that you actually become paralyzed.
And you have a very robust community online where we can get help in doing that, where your readers and fans and followers gather to communicate about happiness. And so tell us some of the ways that you hope people will participate with you in the Happiness Project on your site.
Well, every day I write about some new adventure in pursuit of happiness, so I hope that people are great about adding their own ideas, and it makes the conversation so much richer to hear what many people bring to certain ideas. Then I also have a happiness challenge for 2012, which is about people getting rid of the pigeons of discontent, those little nagging things that just drag down our happiness. So readers all talk about what are their pigeons of discontent and what are the ways that we can all work on eliminating them. And people can start Happiness Project groups for people who want to get together and talk in groups about happiness projects. Because there's something about being in a group, like AA or Weight Watchers or whatever, that helps you get that energy and that enthusiasm to keep you working towards goals.
So a happiness group.
Yes.
That's the one we want.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, Gretchen. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
And to start your own happiness project, you can pick up a copy of Gretchen's book or participate online by visiting happiness-project.com.